Guitar freaks, what's up? It's Pete Thorn. Welcome to the studio. Hey, this is a video all about the Celestion SPEAKERMIX Pro plugin. Terrific new plugin that allows you to add speaker simulation to your guitar sounds. Now, you know, I've been doing the whole IR thing for a long time, impulse responses, using them for speaker simulation along with my load boxes such as this or reactive load. This plugin really takes it to another level. So hopefully I'm able to kind of demonstrate it and maybe explain some of the questions or queries that you may have about this plugin in this video. I've been a big fan, of course, of Celestion, number one, for a long time. I mean, probably 99% of my guitar sounds I've ever done over the years are through Celestion speakers. So when they came out with IRs originally, and actually I got to go over and consult with them before they were released a few years ago, that was a big thrill for me, and it just made sense because, yeah, Celestion, that's what I use for speakers. So now I'm using IRs, I should use Celestion IRs. It just made sense. So now that they've got this plugin, it's just a natural kind of evolution. And of course, you know, I should note, in the PT15 IR amp, which has a built-in IR loader, first amp of its kind, really, it's got Celestion IRs that it comes with. So there's just this natural synergy between me and the company. So what's with this new plugin? Well, it actually uses a technology that's kind of one step beyond IRs. They're called DSRs, not IRs. And you can load IRs in the plugin. It's an IR loader too, and even Celestion's range of IRs will work just fine in there. But their new range of DSRs is what's really exciting about it. That stands for Dynamic Speaker Response. Okay, so what the deal is with that is, with a real loudspeaker, or, you know, number of loudspeakers in a cabinet, the harder you drive them, of course, the sound changes a little bit. The harmonics change, the sound of the speaker changes a little bit. That's one thing that an IR was never actually able to capture. Out and out speaker drive that you could get if you drove a speaker right up to the limit and maybe even beyond the limit of its power handling capability, the sound changes. Well, that's what DSR is all about. Drive the plug-in harder, and the sounds of the speakers change. And like I say, it's also backward compatible. If you already own a bunch of IRs, you can load those in there. And there's actually like an algorithm in the plugin that helps traditional IRs have some of those characteristics of the DSRs. So I don't really understand how it's doing that, but they've incorporated it into the software so that it kind of enhances the sound of your impulse responses, evidently. It's laid out really beautifully like a mixer, which is really nice. The user interface is great. And if you want to select different speakers, that's super easy as well. You can see here that I've just pulled up a whole bunch of different DSRs I've got loaded in there. So if I want to do something like, let's see, a cream back here in a 412, I just go like that. I can select my different microphone down here. Close that up. Now I've got a different cab up than what I had before, you know, loaded with a different microphone complement. And there's 6 channels in there, okay? So you can load up 6 different speakers, cabinets, microphones. You can blend cabinets, do whatever you want, essentially. So in other words, if you want like a Celestion blue in an open back 212, and then you want a greenback in a 412 on 2 different channels, you want to blend them with the same guitar sound, you can totally do that. You can virtually move the mic on the speaker from the center all the way out to the edge to get brighter and darker sounds. There's also room mics built in. There's EQ on every channel, a parametric EQ on every single channel, as well as a master overall parametric EQ. And there's also an auto gain and auto level feature that are really terrific for setting levels, kind of set and forget so that you don't get into trouble. So I'm going to solo a bunch of those parts from the song at the beginning of the video outside of the mix, put some info on the screen so you know what's going on, how I got those different tones. But also I'm going to totally walk you through the plugin and show you a bunch of the different features, the EQ, blending the different microphones, adding in room mics, the delay feature, all this great stuff. Okay, so let's get on with it. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of walk you through the plugin and show you what I know about it, show you as many of the features as I can in a few minutes here, and walk you through really the main features of the plugin. Number one thing about it is that it looks so cool. It's going to pop up on your screen right here, so you can follow along and see what I'm doing here as I'm changing things. But yeah, it's a mixer. I mean, it's a great user interface. It's just so easy to see and use, and you don't really need to even crack a manual to understand what's going on, so that's nice. So you've got your various channels here in the mixer, and you can see that as I click through them here, the first 3 channels that I've got dialed up are all of a open back 212 with a Celestion blue speaker in them. One's a 57 mic, one's a 421, and one is a 121. Now on channel 4 here in the mixer, you'll see an image of a greenback pop up and a 412 cabinet. I just decided I would blend in a little bit of greenback character into this sound, and that's what I'm doing. So the last 2 channels here I'm not using. On this slightly sort of darker colored channel here with the red fader, that's room mics, so you can blend in the room mics separately. More on that in just a second. So what I'm going to do is just play you the sound here, and then I'll solo the first channel, which is the blue with the 57 on it. Let's have a listen. Okay, so that's my blend of all 4 channels. 3 channels of the blue and 1 channel with the greenback. Now I'm going to solo channel 1 here, which is the 57 mic on the blue. Notice the sound ducked down in volume when I soloed, but then it kind of came back up. That's the auto gain feature, which is really awesome. Normally on a console, when you're blending like 3 mics into one sound, you'll get that level drop when you solo one of them. Well, with this, with auto gain, it senses when you solo one of them or when the level's getting too hot, and it just kind of balances out your gain. It's really, really cool and really useful. So watch again as I take it out of solo. And you'll see the output faders drop. So it's a really, really great feature. So I'm using the auto gain feature a lot. Okay. So there's my soloed 57. Now, check this out. I can do EQ on this sound. There's an EQ on every single channel. So I'm using the EQ right now to just take a bit of highs out of the sound. If I turn it off, and back on. Pretty cool. And you've got a whole bunch of different bands in there you can grab and move around. Okay, and you can adjust the Q or the width of the EQ as well as whatever frequency you want. And I mean, inside every one of these EQs, I don't know how many, there's at least like 10 bands that you can grab in there and move around. So you're going to be able to do whatever you want. It's pretty cool. So that's the EQ. Another great feature I'm using here on this sound, I'll just take you back to all 3 mics for a second here, is this delay feature. And what that does is when you're using a mono sound, you can turn on the delay and it'll split right and left and delay the right channel by an amount that you set. And you can get kind of a quasi, like fake doubling going on, and I'm actually using that right now. So if I turn it off, and you can hear the sound kind of split into stereo with it on. So I used that on this part. It gives a great spaciousness to the part and really adds some depth, and it's just a great feature. Here, if I adjust the amount of delay, now I'm getting almost like a slap. Now it's back down around 23 milliseconds or something, and I get just kind of a wide double, essentially. It's pretty cool. I'm going to show you here the room sounds that you can mix in. So off each one of these mics, you get a send that'll send out to the room. So I just sent a bunch of signal from the 57 into the room. And I'm soloing the rooms now. So one thing you can do is control the width of the room mics, make them more mono or more wide in stereo. Okay, so that's really nice. I mean, for adding some realism to the sound. I use this all the time now. I mean, especially for lead guitars and getting a bit of, you know, like a Brian May type. He uses lots of room mics on his solos, getting some real depth to the sound. It's a great, great feature. You can also select different room microphones. These are the TLM 107s. Here's the U67s. Completely different sound. .40-33s. Back to the 107. A nice feature having these room mics in there. And you can see when I took the rooms out of solo and the master levels drop back down to even out the gain so I don't drive the plug-in into clipping. Now here's the greenback. Just blending a little bit of that in underneath the sound to give it a bit of that 412 punch, a little bit of a different character. So I'm using the microphone position kind of where it would be equivalent to just being outside of the edge of where the dust cap meets the cone, essentially. And I can move that around, get darker sound or brighter sound by adjusting this control right here. Okay, so just like you would on a speaker, you can shift that microphone around, move, and get all kinds of different sounds happening that way. It's very cool. Okay, Z-curve, let's talk about that. I don't really understand what it's doing, but it sounds to me like when I increase the Z-curve control, like it's increasing the impedance curve, or the effect of the impedance curve on the sound. It kind of scoops the mids out as you bring it up, and you get bigger bottom and bigger top. Okay, I tend to leave it down for now just because I've got my reactive load and I already know there's that impedance curve going on and I don't really understand what it's doing, but I know if I want to scoop out the mids a little bit, I can bring it up a little bit. Maybe if you've got something like a resistive load, like a hot plate or something, you might be able to add some of that, you know, big resonant bump and top end rise using that control, and it might be really cool for using with some load boxes. You'll also get a master EQ for the overall sound. Pretty great. Rockers, neo-soulsters, country maniacs, metalheads, whatever you are, thanks for watching my video on the Celestion SpeakerMix Pro plugin. Just an awesome, awesome plugin. Sounds great. Beyond that, it's really easy to use. It looks great. The UI is awesome. I know I keep harping on that, but the mixer layout, just that traditional mixer is what I love to see. It's so easy to use. And as far as selecting cabinets, speakers, and microphones, that couldn't be easier as well. Having EQ on every single channel as well as an overall master EQ, that's a huge thing. The new Z-curve feature, as well as that delay feature so that you can split your sounds and get some really awesome spacious sounds. The room mics, if you haven't experienced room mics, as far as using impulse responses and direct recording, blending in some of those rooms allows you to get the most hyper-realistic, awesome guitar sounds and just really takes it to another level. And whether you're using the plugin with the new Celestion DSRs or with your existing library of IRs, you're going to be able to get some great results. You can check out everything that you could ever want to know down at the web link in the video description below. And hey, please hit subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell beside the subscribe. You'll get an alert every time I put out a video. I am Pete Thorn. Thanks, Celestion, for bringing the rock always. We salute you. Take care. Over and out.